person is our camera person. Okay. Hi, my name is Nicole Jackson, and in this speech I'm going to discuss hospice and some services provided. I'm also going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of hospice, as well as some myths and facts that go along with hospice care. Approximately 1.65 million dying Americans were serviced by hospice last year, and therefore I have gathered some information from credible and accessible resources such as the Hospice Patients Alliance Group, the National Association of Professional and Geriatric Care, and the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. Everyone has had a loved one who has to face a terminal illness at one point or another, and everyone knows during that time it can be very difficult, so having as much support as possible during that time is a luxury for patients and the families. The first point that I'm going to discuss will be what is hospice care and what are the services provided under hospice. Hospice care, according to the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, is a specialized care designed to provide support to you and your loved ones during an advanced illness for a person diagnosed with 6 months or less to live. Hospice, it's important to know that hospice is geared towards the comfort of a patient and not the cure. Part of making a patient comfortable means allowing whatever service is necessary to do so. So hospice provides a team of clinicians. This is also known as an interdisciplinary group. This team of clinicians consists of a medical physician, a medical social worker. It also consists of a registered nurse, also known as the case manager, and it consists of a spiritual care coordinator, also known as the chaplain. The main goal of the team is to provide the patient or assist the patient with pain and symptoms, assist with emotional, psychosocial, and spiritual aspects of dying, provides drugs and medical supplies and equipment, coaches the family on how to care for the patient, and makes short-term care available when pain and symptoms become overwhelming to the family or the caregiver. So now that we've discussed what hospice is and some services provided, let's look at some advantages and disadvantages. An advantage of being on hospice is that hospice care is a 24-hour service, so should anything happen with the patient, if the patient falls overnight, there seems to be some difficulty with the family regarding patient care, anything that arises, hospice will either triage the patient and the family over the phone, or you can send, the hospice will send a patient or a clinician out to service any needs that the patient has. A disadvantage of being on hospice is that during the end-of-life stages, a patient might be reluctant to having a stranger come into their home. Usually during end-of-life stages, a patient wants to be surrounded by family and friends that they love, so bringing a stranger to care for them might make the patient more uneasy as opposed to making them comfortable. An advantage/disadvantage of hospice is that it allows the patient and the family to face death before death actually arrives. And that's an advantage because it prepares the family for when the patient dies and accepting that death and moving on to the next stages of grief. And it's a disadvantage because it can create a cloud over the last few days that the patient has to spend with the family. Now let's look at some myths and some facts about hospice. Elderly people are the only ones that can partake in hospice. This is a myth. Any person at any age can qualify to be on hospice as long as a medical physician has diagnosed them with 6 months or less to live. People who sign on to hospice will surely die. This is a myth. This is a myth. People actually tend to thrive while on hospice and can go on for years to live, or can even recover enough to come off of hospice. Research has shown people receiving hospice care will live longer than similar patients, and that is a fact stated by the National Care and Hospice Palliative Care Organization. Patients do tend to thrive while they are on hospice, and again go on to even recover and come off of hospice services. Hospice is paid for by Medicare and Medicaid and by most insurances, and that's a fact stated by the National Association of Professional Geriatric Care. So fear of cost of paying for hospice should never be an issue. Just to sum up some key facts about hospice, hospice is aimed at comfort, not the cure. The main goal of the hospice team is to provide care, medicine, and medical equipment needed to provide comfort at the last stages of life. There are disadvantages and advantages to hospice that can add or take away from the comfort promises under hospice services. And there are myths and facts about hospice, so having a clear understanding of hospice will be essential in making your decision. I hope I've given you all a clear understanding of what hospice is, should any of you have to face a loved one who is dying in the near future. Thank you.
You still had a minute 30.